That's right.
I think we
So
got
I'm sitting
everything
here,
ready.
then I have to go testify, and then
Good evening. We are going to start this evening's with a public hearing on the city budget and the capital improvement plan. If anybody has any questions or comments.
We
I guess
incorporate
we're
that as
getting
part of the
some.
presentation, so. We're going to start out with doing a quick presentation, so if anybody has any questions, I guess, during that, because we didn't put it as an item really to talk about during the budget approval process in the agenda. But this is the budget. It's a little bit thicker because we have the capital improvement plan, so I'm going to grab. I have to thank Jack because he made our the rest of our afternoon very interesting with a couple changes and things. I think Megan walked in here 2 minutes ago, 1 minute, with the documents. So, what this presentation is going to be an overview, very brief. It's going to talk about some important things in the budget. Just highlight a few things. There is a letter in the front of the budget that I've drafted that talks about the budget and goes over some things. But this is a few things just to discuss a little bit that are in here. One thing that's there is an increase in the tax levy because of some debt that's issued. Some of the debt is related to the industrial park property that the city recently purchased. The other is some debt that comes on the tax roll for a motor grader that the city bought in 2014. Bones was able to negotiate with the vendor. We had a wrecked motor grader that he was able to get some salvage from the vendor because it had some valuable parts, and that delayed the city paying a payment on that $250,000. But actually, if you look at, and it's not on here, but if you were to look at in the budget document, and because it's different, and we just got them, so I don't know what page it's on. It just arrived here about a couple minutes ago. If you look in the budget document and look at the tax rate spreadsheet in here, you will notice that the amount of the increase in the amount of debt the city has levied is the amount of the increase in the tax rate is less than the amount of the debt, which is not typical. Usually, when you have debt, you raise the rate to coincide with that. Because we did some things in the budget and we're able to come in. One of the goals of the city council is to in the finance committee has been to try to keep the tax rate stable and not have huge increases. So we did that, as well as some debt did leave the levy from the previous year. We paid off some things. The city of Amery and several other communities are involved in is a program, and I'm not sure when it started. I think it was probably in the 90s. There is a program through the state called the Expenditure Restraint Program. Basically, what that program does for the city and other communities that participate in that, it encourages communities to try to keep their spending at bay. And so it says, okay, the CPI is this, you have to take last year's expenditures and you have to keep the amount that you spend in your general fund and your tax levy portion at that minimum in order to qualify for this payment. The city already qualified for that in 2016, which is about $65,000, so it's a lot of money. But because of the CPI to qualify for in 2017 was 0.04, less than 1%, it made it a little bit of a challenge for the city to try to do that. But the city benefited from a new form that was a new line on the form that we fill out to the Department of Revenue that gave us credit for contracting with the towns that we contract for fire protection. So we're able to use that new kind of like a credit against our expenditures, which lowered our cost of compared to what they want, the 0.04%. We came in less than that. We came in probably at 0.0. almost just over 1%. So because of this change, this $150,000 we deducted, it was able to make the city allow us to qualify for that in 2017, which is $65,000, which is a lot of money for the city of Amery. Another piece of the budget that we've had on as a document and as a policy for the city is the capital improvement plan, which previously it was adopted separately from the budget. But this year what we did is we worked very hard with department heads and staff, and Megan will go into that a little bit later, to develop that plan and incorporate it in the budget. So that's why it's a larger document, because it incorporates a lot of things. And I'm not going to steal her presentation there, so that's in a little bit. A couple things that are important. One thing that we talked about during the budget process with the Finance Committee, we did a little bit of surveying. We also looked at the time that council members spend at meetings and on city projects. The city has a regular schedule for committee meetings, and sometimes they don't meet because there's no business there. There's a few committees that meet more often, but there's also times that council members, because they're, Rick is the head of the Park and Rec Committee. Because he's part of that, he's in maybe some other meetings during the month, where somebody has a project, dog park, or something like that. Or one that comes to mind is when we did the disc golf park. When Dave Myers was on city council then, and he was head of the Park and Rec Committee, Ted Zinn came to him and brought this project to him. So he met with him, and so there's time that they spend outside of that, as well as when we did a survey of other communities about our size. There was a need to raise that, and it has been, probably 15 years since the council salary raises. Now, they only get $3,400 a year. It's not a lot of money, but they put a lot of time into it, and people don't realize that. So I think it's important to note that. The next thing that's in the budget in 2016 is $15,000 that is towards the city's portion of purchasing an airboat in 2017. There's a spreadsheet here that I'm going to kind of go over a little bit. What this does is kind of breaks down the cost here. Now, the city of Amery owns the fire department, and we contract with the town of Lincoln, the town of Alden, and the town of Blackbrook. And these percentages here of what they would pay is based on the percentage that they pay the city of Amery for services related to fire protection. And this is all based on assessed value. It's pretty complicated, I won't go into too much detail, but basically this is the percentage that in 2017, each entity would pay towards the purchase of this airboat. Now, the cities would be reduced in 2017 by $15,000 because we're allocating those dollars in 2016, then set them aside and use those when we purchase the airboat. This also is reduced, the cost of this boat is actually less than, a little more than this, because the fire department has been very diligent and has been out there raising funds for this piece of equipment. So I think they've raised $9,000, isn't that correct? Yep. So they've raised $9,000 towards this project. So this is important because this is kind of a different, this is not a normal fire piece of equipment they purchased, so we wanted to outline this a little bit, just so people realize what's transpiring there. And that the city, yes, we do pay a portion of that, but it's shared with all these other entities. I think that's very important. Something that we've been talking about in a couple different committees and talking to Waterman Sanitation is the city's garbage rates haven't gone up since, well, when Dick and I were talking earlier this week, we thought the 90s, sometime in the mid-90s, late 90s. All I know is that Bill Clinton was president, so we couldn't really narrow that down. So they've come to the city and requested an increase in garbage rates for next year. If you look at the city's garbage rates compared to other entities, we do pay a little bit less right now. It does include recycling, so recycling is part of it. So if you live in the country, if you looked at our rates, they're a little bit, they are lower than what maybe you pay in the country, but we do get services like recycling, and they do still pick up Christmas trees, and some other things. So there's a few things that happen there that are a little different than maybe a rural rate. What it's going to do is it's going to go up basically $3.50 per container per quarter. And then something that they already do for other communities, if you put out an additional item, like let's say a TV or something that won't fit in your bin, and you put it next to your garbage receptacle container, there will be an extra charge. And how they do that is they have an iPad in the garbage truck and they photograph it, and then they will send, we haven't figured out the details of that, they'll send Linda an email of what, and the address of what has been placed out there. And then also the city is working on a sanitation contract with Waterman's and updating that for a specified time. We're still in negotiations with them on that. A couple projects that are, I call other projects, that are not necessarily related to the tax rate. We all know that it rained a lot this year. We've had a lot of moisture. The wastewater plant, we're going to be doing some projects there. One of the areas that is a big one is this flagpole park lift station, which if you go down here across from North Twin and you see where the ponds are, we call that flagpole park. And that lift station is pretty old, and it's also kind of antiquated. I guess that's the best way to put it when you say that, Bones and Chance. Earlier this year, they had to wrestle, and I'm surprised they were lucky to get this part. It uses a compressor. It's kind of a complicated thing. But the only place they could find one, and they need it now because the lift station, which takes all the north end, was malfunctioning. I think they had to go all the way to Rochester, Minnesota to get it, and they were lucky to find that one. So the objective is this year is to work with our engineers to update that and actually maybe even replace that. We have 3 lift stations apparently that are that style, and so we're going to be looking at over a period of time, and that's part of our capital plan to replace those or try to update them. Something that came out of walkability is we're going to be putting in 2 LED, they're called pedestrian signs. So basically down by McDonald's, there's a crosswalk there, and anybody who's tried to walk across that will notice that it is life-changing or it's challenging to do that. So what this would do is you would have and I think somebody said there's one in Richmond. There's a couple different ways it works. You have a button you push, and then it's a sign that shows a pedestrian, and then these lights flash, LED lights flash, letting somebody know there's somebody in the crosswalk. And you have a specified amount of time. So we're going to see how those work, and if they do work, we may put one down by the North Twin boat landing. So we're going to see where those can be used and maybe even utilized somewhere else in town. It's part of our walkability program. It's kind of our first big step there to doing something to try to improve that. Something that was delayed, and this is paid out of the tax increment finance district, which is the downtown district, which a parking lot was proposed during the building of the farm table and the food hub there. And when we got the bids back in October, they were pretty high. So between Bones and I, when we reviewed those, and the city council, I think, did this in November, they rejected the bids and are going to rebid them because the cost was too high. So we're hoping that the bids will come in much lower in early 2016 for that project. And then something that we received some funding from the Community Foundation for, and Megan, our management analyst who's working on it, is a water recreation study. Now, we've talked about the beach, we talked about swimming pools, we talked about splash parks, we talked about how what we may need or what we may not need as far as water recreation, pool, all those things, spraying the beach, doing all these different things. So what this study will do, and with funding from the Community Foundation, we'll kind of look at that and analyze that and use a combination of surveys and some other methodology to come up with what it costs to do that, what do we really need, and kind of provide the community with an idea of what is possible, and also to guide the city council and whoever else is interested in those kind of things. So it's not going to say we're going to, we don't really know what's going to happen out of it. We're not going to say one way or the other, but it's going to give us an idea what our needs are in the community for water recreation. And it's going to be a pretty involved process there for her to work on that. Right now, this is kind of a segue, and Megan's going to come up and talk a couple minutes about the capital improvement plan and program, which is the other part of the city budget.
Hello, everyone. So, a capital improvement plan organizes and budgets for large capital asset purchases or improvements. Planning ensures that city services are continuous and budgets are fiscally sound by safeguarding against multiple large purchases in one year. In other words, it helps us to not muddle through and to not only think about large assets like a lift station or a police squad when they break. Capital improvement plans also communicate city needs and priorities across departments and committees. So, the first capital improvement plan was completed in 2011 by the Wittenberg interns and was for the fiscal years of 2012 through 2017. The capital improvement plan, or CIP, consisted of an extensive city capital assets inventory, 25 project requests from city departments, and a list of possible funding options. As a part of this project, the interns also wrote a capital improvement ordinance that outlined the CIP process and was passed by City Council in 2011. We are going to talk about this ordinance later again in the meeting. So, the last couple of months, we have been working very closely with department heads to update the assets inventory and to organize future capital improvement requests in order to create a CIP for the fiscal years of 2016 through 2020. The second capital improvement plan, which is included in this year's draft budget, includes the project statuses of requests from the previous CIP plan. It includes an updated city assets inventory, capital funding options, and about 50 requests from city departments. The requests include project descriptions, justifications, cost, and expected implementation years. There are a few things I'd like you to keep in mind as you read through it. First, while the CIP is a roadmap for the direction of the city, priorities easily change as opportunities arrive or when assets unexpectedly fail. Therefore, the CIP is not meant to be inflexible. Second of all, the asset estimates in this document are in 2012 dollars and do not reflect the cost offset by equipment sales for upgrades. Third, and this is noted in the CIP ordinance, if the CIP is approved by the council, the CIP is then forwarded to the Finance Committee, which will review and most likely move some of the requests to a 10 to 15-year timeline. In other words, approving the CIP does not mean you are committing that the city will make all these purchases. Rather, you are agreeing to a vision for the city, and that the requests made here are important to the economic and social health of the city. My last thing, I would like to acknowledge the department heads who helped a great deal in this process, and I learned a great amount from them, so thank you very much. Any questions?
Thank you, Megan.
And that's all we have.
So are there any questions or comments from the public on the city budget or the capital improvement plan? Now's your chance, or anybody on the council. No? Then I will close the hearing and call the December 2nd, 2015 City Council to order. Fran, would you take the roll call, please?
Certainly. Strobush?
Yep.
Raymond Schneider?
Here.
Rogers?
Here.
Erickson?
Here.
Bicker?
Here.
And Van Blarcom.
Here.
Thank you. I'm going to ask Jack Rogers to lead us in the pledge.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
The minutes of the November 4th meeting are and your tablet. If you take a look at those, please.
Make a motion to approve the city council proceeding minutes from November 4th.
Second?
Motion made and seconded to approve the minutes. Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Carried. Any upcoming events besides Christmas?
Oh, and holiday stroll.
A holiday stroll, yes.
Sunday, noon to 4.
Sunday, noon to 4.
I'll be there. You should be too.
Okay. Are you handing out the hot dogs too?
I'm not working hot dogs. I'm working the camera.
Oh, okay. All right. Holiday stroll, Sunday.
We also have one that Toys for Tots
Oh, yeah.
collections are being done at the firehouse again.
Okay,
On Saturdays and Sundays from 10 to 2:30.
very good.
People have asked about that.
Great.
Okay. Anything else? Thank you. Officers' reports. Fire Chief Dale Kaler.
I'll have to excuse my tardiness with filing the report. I emailed the report last night, and my email's not working, so
We're going to fix
I
that.
have printed it for you if you want to take a paper copy. There's the run reports for this month. Notable numbers on the run report. I think I mentioned it last week or last month. I'm really proud of the firefighters, especially the young firefighters are stepping up. We have 13 firefighters in a WITC one class or another. So there's 6 in the entry level and 7 in the firefighter 1 class, and that's been one of my ongoing goals with the firefighters, is trying to get the young guys involved and get them trained up a little bit more so we have a pool of future officers. So as you look down the total hours, that is by far the largest accumulation of hours over the last month, 200 and some hours spent in class learning the trade of firefighting. So I'd like to give them a little bit of recognition because they're working hard over there. We have classes on Tuesday nights, every Tuesday night at the fire hall. You probably notice cars there. And then we also host every other week an 8-hour class on Saturdays.
Wow.
So our facilities are also being used well by WITC instructors for other departments as well. They come in and join our folks. So if there's no other questions about the run report, the only comments I wanted to make this month is a little bit more detail about the air rescue boat. The company has come back and given us a reduced price quote on some in-stock equipment, and I would like to, hopefully you got this email about 2 weeks ago of a little spreadsheet I did for the council, and Darcy was going to share with you about how that all works out as far as financial. The rescue boat is in the biannual or the 2-year budget process of the CIP, which is an ongoing thing. There is another interested party, and that is the Amery Hospital Foundation, maybe giving us another donation.
Oh, cool.
So it's a process, and hopefully we look forward to using that boat to save people. Along with that, I'd like to make a note. Remember, the lakes are not safe yet. All right? I see people out on the ice. Give it another week or so, all right, so that we don't have to go out and rescue somebody in need already. I can't believe it. I'm a teacher by trade. I can't believe how many of my students are telling me they're out ice fishing already. And I tell them they're nuts. So just give it a week or so and let it freeze up a little bit more solid.
You mean walleye aren't worth that much?
Nothing's worth that much. And then another thanks to the community. We had our chili feed on the 24th. Our largest turnout ever. And we served a lot of people. 22 roasters of chili, over 600 pounds of chili, and we had one little bowl left at the end of the night. So everybody enjoyed a lot of chili, but we do appreciate everybody's support. It's really wonderful to see that many people come through the firehouse and participate in that. That, by the way, the whole activity tonight, that whole lighting up the parade, it all gelled very well, I thought. We had some fireworks out back. I thought it was a great night for everybody. So we wanted to thank people and thank you for your support. So, questions?
Do you have a number of how much you raised for scholarships, or not yet?
I don't have a final number.
Okay.
The rough count was 3,500,
Wow, that's pretty good.
but that's, I believe, also before some of our expenses. So
That's still pretty good.
all the chili actually was donated by firefighters. So each firefighter takes it upon themselves, including Rick here brought a roaster full of chili, and we donate those things to the cause. So it's a great way to bolster the scholarship fund, and that's where those funds go to, is the high school scholarships that the fire department gives out. So
Cool.
Thank you,
All right.
Dale.
thanks.
Thank you. Public Works, Bones, Chance? Just Bones? Okay.
Chancey could just as well talk. Good evening,
Okay.
Madam Mayor, members of the council, ladies and gentlemen. As you know, the guys were very busy getting ready for the lighting ceremony downtown. It all went off very well. The lights went off and on a few times, but all in all, they got to where they were headed. A little bit of snow wasn't...
That was Jessica's fault, that the
Oh,
lights
okay.
went on and off a couple of
In
times.
case they were wondering.
She posed for a
No.
picture and it accidentally.
That happens quite often. The equipment's all working well. The guys had it out the other day for this little skiff of snow we had. Hopefully it wasn't too inconvenient for everybody. We didn't call anybody in, as it was, just a nuisance snow, and I hope that's the last one of the season. Nobody believes that. Okay, thank you. Other than that, I have not much more to add. As you know, the dump's open anytime you want it. Still getting people bringing leaves in. A few weeks, I know they'll be bringing Christmas trees in, and we'll take them out there. So anything you need to get rid of as far as burning or brush or anything, just give us a holler and we'll open it up. We've been trying to keep it open every day. I know today we had it locked up. Just hadn't got out there, but got no calls, so other than that,
Questions for Bones?
thank you.
Thank you. Police Chief Tom Marson.
Good evening. I present to the council and media the activity reports for November here. I concur with Dale on the out on the ice kind of thing here. Generally, we would have already received a call from some concerned citizen wanting us to go out 100 feet out there and bring in somebody in off the ice there, but we haven't gotten those calls yet. So, but I have seen a couple people out on the ice there. Not a whole lot going on. It's kind of I guess I won't say slow because that'll get me in trouble, because then next month I'll say we're extremely busy, but in December there. But one thing I would like to share, generally or occasionally I'll get emails, some not so good, some good, and I actually got 2 really nice emails within the last week. And I just wanted to paraphrase a little bit. There was a lady that sent me an email on the 23rd, and it was about one of our staff members there. The lady had recently moved to Amery from Minnesota and was trying to get all their registration and all their things in order here. And we do registrations from 9 to 4 p.m. And she indicated she arrived about quarter after, and the nice lady helped her out. And then she forgot her checkbook and had to go back and get her checkbook. But she just wanted to express her gratitude for this lady. And it's actually Barb Auger, who started with us a little over a year ago, but she says, please pass on my appreciation and gratitude to this awesome person. Her customers' service skills are top-notch. So that was one good email. And then just 4 days later, I got an email from a young lady, and it kind of says, a long time ago, 6 or 8 years ago, I wanted to commit suicide, but a very nice officer that worked for the police department stayed up very late talking to this little girl who didn't want to live, and ended up giving me a new outlook on life. That was actually, she identified Officer Carlson for that, and she doesn't live in the area anymore, but she sent me the email to see if I could relay that information, or just to see if he still worked here and stuff like it. So I relayed that to John, so I just appreciate those comments. I mean, as chief and as members of our department there, so a couple of nice emails. That's all I got, unless there's any questions.
Thank you, Tom.
How's the dog doing?
Dog, I believe. You should have forewarned me. No. Actually,
I figured it was automatic.
I know. Actually, Thor is, how did Kip put it? He's actually down with the trainer itself for a couple of weeks. Kip had a nice word for it, incarcerated or something like that. He's actually left Kip's house, our canine officer, and he's down doing a little more training with Josh Stenseth, who works for the St. Croix County Sheriff's Department. So otherwise, we are plugging along and things are looking good.
Thank you, Tom.
Thank you.
Management Analyst Megan Will.
Hello again. So I've got a lot of ongoing projects going on right now, like the community garden and walkability. I don't have a lot to report on besides the CIP plan, but I wanted to show you guys all of this. This is the new Amery Visitor Guide and Business Directory. All right, so it will feature this lovely color, or this lovely cover. It was hand-drawn by somebody in Amery and will be colored by somebody in Amery as well. It will feature multiple pages, and inside, I think this is really cool, I want to show you guys. This is a map. It's a hand-drawn map, and once you're a business and you purchase a business directory listing, you also get a little map pin that corresponds to it as well. So I just wanted to show you guys this.
Very nice.
Any questions?
When are those ready?
It's a lot of work to put these together,
Okay.
so I
Okay.
think it will be a couple more months before they're ready
Okay.
to go out.
Ongoing project.
Who does someone contact as a business to become part of that?
Me. So every time I get well at City Hall.
stops there.
You can just give City Hall a call and I can email you over a PDF or a form, or I can just take your information down. So we are still taking requests for these, so if you're a little bit late, no problem.
Questions for Megan? Thank you.
Thank you.
City Administrator, do you have anything else to talk about?
All I did is work on the budget for a month, so I don't really have a lot to talk about.
Okay.
I think I talked about it all at one time, so. And we'll go over some of that stuff in the agenda as well, so.
Okay. Moving on. Committee reports. Just Finance.
And it seemed like finance, we were here all the time. I'm looking in the notes, and it shows we have two, but I really feel like we were here much more than that. The first one, we had a meeting on November 3rd. That was with the Police Department Union. We had the negotiations. It's kind of limited now to basically wages in the WRS contribution. Again, if I had a root canal just a few hours ago, so mind me, my freezing went off, but I'm just trying to think. We had a meeting with them, and that's what it's kind of, the negotiations are left to, is basically wages and WRS contributions that they pay. So we met with them, and we back and forth a couple times between us and them. We did come up with a 3-year negotiation agreement with them, at the police union. Believe it. This was all the final, correct? That we have in it?
That's correct,
Okay,
yes.
yeah,
That's
for,
what's in it.
year one, our wages, up 3.5%, with WRS, their contribution contributing up 1%. Year two, wages up January 1st, 3%, WRS contribution up 1.5, that's the portion that they have to pay, and then third year, wages open to, reopening with employees paying the entire amount of their WSR contribution, not to exceed 7%, and bargaining for wages only that third year. So that's something, again, where their contracts usually 1, 2, 3 years, depending upon, and especially wages and what they do contributing, because the city has to pay a portion of their WRS contribution And it's a little different, they're in a different class versus other employees, their protective status. So that meeting went, and we made that agreement. And then we had one of, I don't know, three, a lot of budget meetings. That
We only had 3 this year.
Three, it just seemed longer. But November 18th, we had another budget meeting. We talked about our budget at that, a couple of the things where the city transfers different money and accounts and to the budget on there. They had the general fund expenses is all shared into that budget document that was prepared, this one here that shows all the different transfers and where the budget goes through. We had a pretty lengthier discussion, presentation, a little bit more on the airboat and the fact that, again, this airboat, because we contract with the other fire districts, money goes from different, they pay a portion, we pay a portion, and we're actually putting in the budget 15% of, or $15,000 in there for this budget, with the rest on the 2017 budget. We talked about, in length, a little bit about the garbage, the watermen wanting the increase, and what we felt was a reasonable amount, yet still not too shocking to everybody's budget for garbage, and that's how we had the administrative portion, because we do the billing here for watermen's, and the city, the 50 cents, and then that $3.50 per quarter. So if you take a look at your bill, and it has your rate for the different, there's 3 different sizes of dumpster recyclables that you have, it'd be $3.50 per quarter, so I can't think $15 per year that your garbage increases. I'm thinking right here straight.
That's pretty close, yeah.
$12. See, I told you, still, the freezing wore off, but my thinking isn't. And the tax rate, we spent a lot of time, of trying to get where we're not, whatever, I can't think. Raising our taxes where we're not raising them, so we tried to do everything, and we're looking at budgeting and where it was and with our department heads, because we don't want to have big increases. We try to keep it as close, and it amounted to, like I said in here, the difference not that much. And then we also discussed some of the wages of some of the different employees, in particular our sewer wastewater treatment plant, on wages. I think, if I'm missing anything, Rick, you were there? Are we missing anything that we talked? It just really seemed like we were here a lot, but maybe we weren't, but it's just between that and then you say having negotiations. We had, before several meetings with the police union, so it just seemed like we had a lot of meetings in the last couple months. Any questions from anybody that they have, or anybody else? Again, this is very detailed, so this really, if you haven't taken a look at this, of where the money is coming from in the different funds, and that's where Darcy can answer a lot of those questions if you're confused on something, the debt ratio and anything with capital expensing, Megan can, and so. There's no other questions. I think that was everything that I can.
Okay. Thanks, Chris. New business. First on the agenda is the adoption of the 2016 budget.
Yeah, I think we summarized it quite a bit in the presentation there during the hearing. The staff put a lot of time into this, and as Chris said, that the Finance Committee spent a lot of time working on this as well. As it says in the budget message there, is that it's not just one person that does it, it's a group. It's the department heads, they're involved in it, the city council, and a lot of what we have incorporated in this document, yes, a lot of the capital improvement stuff, some of it is new for 2016 and, going forward, but some of it really isn't. Some of it is just taking what we had before and making sure it's more accurate. And it is a planning, it's something we use annually, but it's also a document that helps guide the city and direct some of it. So some of the expenditures in there aren't going to be purchased in 2016. They may be purchased a couple years down the road. But part of what happens is when you budget to put money away, you actually end up, in the long run, saving taxpayer dollars, because you're putting dollars away to basically pay cash for things. So I'm always proud to tell people that, when we buy a dump truck, we don't have to borrow for it. We get to pay because we put money away over time. And I think that is a wise thing for the city to do. And we try to do that as much as we can, or try to reduce the amount of impact that that new debt has on city residents or on rates or whatever. I would encourage people at least to read the first 5 pages because it kind of summarizes things if you're not inclined to read the whole thing. It is very lengthy, mainly because the capital improvement plan does go into a lot of detail about specific things, outlines them in specific items. If you look at the capital improvement plan and you look at what the city has for equipment, just go out and look out your window when you see equipment go by plowing snow. They don't give that equipment away. Graders are $250,000 and they last, how long, Bones, do we keep them?
The one that we have now is the 1991.
So we keep them for a long time, the same way with fire trucks. The last one we got rid of a couple years ago was an 86?
82.
82, it was older, see? That probably was delayed longer than it should have. But we keep equipment for a long time when you spend a large sum. And so the city's staff do a very good job of keeping that equipment very well maintained. And that is, as Megan mentioned in here, when we go to resell it, we take a lot of that resale that when we sell that and reapply it to the cost of the new equipment. And when you look at some of the equipment that Bones, when he talks to the vendor about trading or selling it, people want our equipment because it's well maintained. So that is a good thing, and it's a testament to our departments. As well as, when you think of all the things the city does, some of the things are getting very old, and it's wise planning by the city council and the staff help make things continue to go smoothly with everything the city does. And I want to thank all of them for their hard work. We really rushed. I feel like we were racing to the last mile to walk in here and get this done because we found one error out of all these pages at the last minute. And I want to thank Jack Rogers, who is leaving us for his input at the last minute because to me, I want to have a pretty good document here when we come to the council and get them to approve this. And Jack found a couple things, and I appreciate that from him. So there it is. So if you have any, you don't have any questions.
You said is there going to be a copy at the library?
There's always a copy. We're one of the few that put our copy, James puts it in, and actually is a part of our collection. And then there is a little place on our budget, or on our website, that is kind of like a newsreel thing, or points to something important. Megan will be putting this on our website so you can, it'll go through with some other information, and you can click on that and look at that. And it'll be in a PDF format for anybody that wants to look at it. As well as there will be a copy here, once we get some more copies printed tomorrow, for somebody who wants to look at a paper copy. It will be available here at City Hall and at the library. I think I provided the Free Press and WPCA copy as we do every year. So that's it.
And before we vote, I want to thank the department heads and Megan and Darcy and the Finance Committee, because I know, and Fran, yes, the office staff. You can't believe how hard these people work. We truly are very fortunate to have this group of people that I get to work with. So thank you, every single one of you. Now, do I have a motion to adopt the agenda, or adopt the budget?
So moved.
Second.
Moved and seconded to accept the budget. Any more discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? We have a budget, thank you. Item B, ordinance 2-2015, amend and replace the city's capital improvement ordinance.
You want me to do that, or do you want to address it a little bit, Megan?
Yeah, I can.
Go
Because
ahead.
you revised that.
So, as I said before, the CIP plan, or the CIP ordinance was written by the Wittenberg students in 2011. And we pulled it out about a week ago to look at it and see if it needed any updates. The ordinance itself is very good in theory. However, it's not exactly very practical. What it basically outlined for the CIP process to create one was that City Council would make a CIP committee, and that they would be assigned to go out to update the inventory, to find the status of all the previous CIP projects, and to write down all the requests, the descriptions, the justifications, the costs. So basically, I'd already done that work, so I figured we'd basically transfer that responsibility to city administration and the department heads as they did it. And that it was already in the process that the CIP plan would go to the finance committee after it was approved. So that's where city council will be able to really kind of mold it as well. So I'm asking you to approve a new process of creating the CIP plan that we feel is more practical to what we do here.
Do you have a motion?
Darcy, do we vote on enacting this ordinance, or do we have to wait a month?
There actually is an ordinance already in place. You're replacing the one that's here.
Okay.
It actually goes along with this document in the back. So it kind of is tied to the budget a little bit. As Megan said, it is more practical what's in place right now.
I'm saying about the process of the ordinance. I agree with her ordinance assessment, but as far as the process for the ordinance.
Well, it's pretty, it is, I would say it's probably benchmarked, or to use a more simple term, borrowed from some other community in some ways, and then adapted to fit the city of Amery. And,
No, that's
You're
not what he's
understanding.
asking.
should we wait to adopt it?
No. What, the process of adopting it, do we vote on that tonight? Or
Yes, that's
do we
correct.
have to wait? Okay.
No, we want you to vote on it tonight.
I make a motion to approve ordinance 2-215, the city's capital improvement ordinance.
Thank you.
Is there a second?
I'll second it.
Thank you, Julie. It's been made and seconded to approve ordinance 2-2015, to amend and replace the city's capital improvement. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Oh, were there any questions?
Well, I just had one point of clarification I wanted to
Sorry.
ask. So in section 7, the reiteration of the proposal, is that something that was added or reviewed? I'm just looking at, in order to review the finances of past programs and projects, this policy will be reviewed by the Finance/Public Works Committee every 3 years following the adoption.
That was already in there.
That was the previous, yeah.
So what you were saying before is that,
That it will be forwarded to the finance committee, that after it's approved, since it's been approved, it will be forwarded to the finance committee. They will be able to kind of make adjustments, thoughts, and then it will be then changed to fit what the finance committee.
Fine-tuned, yeah.
Yeah, and then several of the projects that are in there, most likely, we can't afford them at the moment. They'll be pushed into what's called the capital improvement plan, which is 10 to 15 years past this capital improvement budget.
okay, that's fine. I was just wondering, though, if what we've just put into place, if it's in what you described, if they're in sync with each other based on what's written here. Okay, so you were talking about sending it to finance only. Is it also going to Public Works, or it might go to Public Works?
Public Works will have to be a part of it as well.
Yes.
Okay.
And one of the things, just to discuss that a little bit, one of the objectives is that at the January Finance Committee, and probably the Public Works Committee, will start to review this a little bit and do some fine tuning. One of the things that the city, one part of it that we probably will really look at in January is, we've typically met with the towns to talk about the budget a little bit. What we want to do is meet with them. We will send them out an invitation, meet with them in January, and kind of go over that portion of it, and go over the capital things that are in there, and a little bit over the budget. So we will be doing some of that next year, next month, as well as the Public Works Committee will start to, and Finance will look at, there's a lot of projects in there. So, you know, as it's been mentioned all the way through the budget process, limited resources, so you got to figure out where the priorities are. So it'll happen sooner than really the 3 years. Will start next year. So
Okay, thank you.
yeah, thank you, Jack.
You can add my yay.
Thanks, Jack.
We want to vote again?
No, it's okay.
Okay, all right. Okay. Item C, ordinance 3-2015 fee schedule amendment.
Oh, you have that. Can I see your
Oh,
copy?
I have that?
Yeah. I think I gave you the only copy. Every year when we do a few changes in the in some of the fees, one of the things that we have to do is update the fee schedule. And in the memo I kind of sent out by email, there's only a couple things in here. One was dealing with assessment letters that come from title companies asking about assessments and things, and some other things that we have to prepare for them. The garbage administrative fee, which was talked about as part of the garbage increase, was added in here, as well as there is something different that's in here. During the budget process, we talked about building permits. And in one different kind of twist, we actually eliminated a building permit for sheds. So if you, and that's in here, if you buy a shed at Lampert's, ABC, Menards, Home Depot, wherever you may get one, and it is under 100 square feet or less, you don't need a building permit anymore. And this came about from people coming in with all kinds of different sheds, and they're made differently now. I had a long conversation with somebody, and I'd never even seen one. The thing was all Rubbermaid, and I'd never seen one like that goes in the yard. And how do you do a building permit for that? It's manufactured. It's very different. So you can thank the city assessor, actually. She was saying one of the towns that she works with, they don't charge a fee for that. I did a little research and brought it to the finance committee, and they thought that was a good idea. So starting in 2016, or when this gets adopted, it will be a new policy that when you come in to get a permit for a shed, if it's under 100 square feet, you won't need a permit. So that's kind of it is a new thing that we are doing in 2016. So.
Okay.
And everything else is the same. We just made it easy for us to find things when people come in.
Okay, I make a motion that we adopt ordinance 03-2015 to amend the code of the city of Amery regarding a fee schedule.
Second.
Made and seconded to adopt the ordinance. Any more discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Thank you, carried. Item D, Resolution 4-2015, authorizing Bremer loan for $250,000 to cover the cost of the industrial park land purchase.
This is the loan that we are using to reimburse the city for the cost of purchasing the land that is the 20 acres, just kind of southwest of Slumberland there, and behind the Whispering Waters subdivision. That will be a future industrial park. We did purchase that and paid cash for that, but now we are going to put a loan in place for 10 years to cover that cost. Eventually, that will be a loan that will, once we have a TIF district in place, which is a economic development tool, that TIF tool there will help pay for this cost, and it will move basically from the tax roll basically to the TIF funding paying for that. So, and this is a project we've been working on for a long time. The need for industrial property in Amery has been pretty much depleted. I think we have 10 acres maybe in the Stour Industrial Park, and maybe a couple other small lots in town. So the ability for Amery to grow in jobs for manufacturing has been limited because of that lack of larger industrial property. So this is what this kind of is going to help the city in maybe attracting some more manufacturers. That's it. Any questions?
Okay. Somebody want to make a motion?
Motion to approve it.
Thank you.
I'll second it.
Thank you. Motion made and seconded to pass the resolution. Any more discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Carried. E, appoint election inspectors for 2016-2017 term. Fran, that must be you.
Yes,
Okay.
it is. Election inspectors, under state statute, are appointed to 2-year terms. The current inspectors' terms will expire on December 31st. So we need to appoint inspectors for the next term, which will be the years 2016 and 2017. I've previously spoken with the people I have listed there who have indicated to me that they are willing to continue to serve. And they definitely are a huge asset to the city. I am very proud of the job that our election staff does. We are very fortunate to have such conscientious, civic-minded people who are willing to do that. And I would ask that you approve their appointment.
Move
Make a
to
motion.
approve.
Thank you,
I'll
Rick.
second it then.
Thank you. Moved and seconded to appoint the election inspectors. Any more discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Carried. Approve amended employee job description, item F.
Yes. The 2 job descriptions that we are amending, and as it said in the memo that I sent out by email, we were last month at the Finance Committee, discussed the clerk treasurer position and discussed supervisory role for office staff in City Hall, and have provided that the clerk treasurer should have that ability. And so what this job description does is this takes what the Finance Committee has done and solidifies it into an official job description. So it's amending that. And then the second one is pretty simple. The only thing it does is take Megan's, the management analyst position, and drops the word intern from it.
I
And
mean,
so-
she's been here long enough, she's not an intern anymore.
Yes.
She's a regular person.
Yes. I guess.
Welcome, Megan.
Regular person, yes.
Please raise your
Yes. So that is the 2 differences in those job descriptions.
Okay.
Make a motion, we approve the 2 job descriptions.
Second.
Motion made and seconded. Any more discussion?
Last hurrah.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Thank you. Item G, ratification of the tentative labor contract agreement between the city and the, what's the WPPA, Chris?
Wisconsin Professional Police Association.
Oh, thank you. Okay. And I think Chris talked about that before, so,
So, I'll make the motion for this one.
okay. They're looking for it.
Second.
It is a separate document because it's lengthy. So,
Oh,
yes, it's not,
Can I make a
it's not
question?
even-
yes, go ahead.
The only thing, and I think Chris mentioned something, but the only thing that was really changed in that whole contract was wages and
And-
retirement
That's correct.
Retirement.
You are correct, sir.
contributions. Did somebody make a motion?
I did.
I'll
And I
second.
said, no, you're too late. I did that already.
I'll third it.
You guys have to speak up. Motion made and seconded to approve the ratification. Any more discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Carried. We have, I think that's on the agenda.
Yeah.
Yes.
It is.
Yes, because apparently city employees can't do a normal thing with a house, and they can't find one that, is already on a lot. They have to go and find one and move it across town. So we have another employee who has decided to move a house across town. And so Bones has a permit here, and the process that is set in city ordinance is that the city council has to approve all house moving permits. We have since had a conversation with the department heads, and that we will probably be bringing in January or February a revision to the ordinance because really, between Bones and Tom and I, we really do a lot of the approval stuff before it even gets here, that it's probably more likely and logical that, and because of time frames, sometimes houses have to be moved right away. They don't fit in line with council meetings. So we'll bring a revision to that and to make that process a little bit smoother. It's not that common, so we have to follow the process here, and Bones is requesting that the council approve that, and maybe I'll have him address what he's doing there. And there is a fee attached to that for doing that permit, and so I'm going to have him talk about his project he's doing.
This has been in the process for a couple of months, so I think everybody knows pretty much what house and where it's going. I've had my foundation in across from the shop for, well over a month now. The house is sitting up in the air. We're waiting for XL to give the go-ahead. They tentatively want to do it December 10th at 9 a.m., which is next Thursday. So everything other than getting the city council's approvals in place.
Do you have a kind of a route that it's going to take? Because, you know, I know the last time a house moved, it was like a parade route. People lined up to watch the house go by, so.
It'll be a real good parade because they wanted to cut through McDonald's parking lot and Elko. But they decided that the house.
Through the drive-through, is that McDonald's drive-through?
I think they were going to do it around lunchtime. No, it'll be coming, as you know, it's on Church Street, north of First Lutheran, is it?
Yes.
It'll be coming north to Baker Street, then it'll go east to Harriman, and then all the way out Harriman to Griffin, across the highway and down across the bridge, and turning on to Minneapolis. And hopefully, I know we're supposed to get good weather, but I might have to park it at Chris's for.
Yeah, on the little spare lot there, this pretty car, the driveway. Is it too heavy to go over that bridge? 'Cause-
What time is this parade starting?
9 a.m.
Okay.
so I make sure I leave for work before then.
You have to get across the bridge before the house.
Just to give you an idea, Chris, that when they moved my house, they figured it was 60 ton. And it was no problem going across the bridge.
It just seems that bridge is,
Yeah.
That's a 40-ton bridge, and that's quite a bit smaller.
That's a lot
I
smaller
know
house.
smaller, yeah, definitely.
So I'm thinking that's maybe 39.
39 and,
We'll find out if it's floating.
so in
down
other
the
words,
Apple
if we
River.
see signs that show that the bridge is closed,
If it turns into a houseboat, you still own it.
Your permit goes up in price.
Make a motion to approve the
Thank you, Tim.
the house moving permit for Alan McCarty on to Sunflower Way.
second it.
Motion made and seconded to allow Bones to move a house. All in favor? Any more discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Carried. Operators licenses.
We do not have any.
Oh, yay.
It was a
Yes, you do.
just-in-case type of thing, and we didn't have any, so that may be disregarded.
Okay. All right, so before we adjourn, we have some important guests in the back row. So do you have your agendas, gentlemen and ladies? Come forward, please. Come up to the podium, would you please?
Oh,
That's right here.
Right
right here.
Scout Project? No?
Go around behind.
Civics class?
No, I need to, yeah, you too, come on. I don't.
You got to come up here in order
The
to get
proof is
signed.
being on TV
Yeah.
and having the mayor sign. So that's your proof that you really were here.
State your name.
Asher Page. Timmy Kelling. Mackenzie Spafford. Owen Dodge.
These are seventh graders who were here on Monday afternoon, and we talked about civics in their seventh grade civics class. And they were told if they, by their instructor, Matt Pedersen, if they came to a city council meeting and got their agendas signed, they would each get 100 more points. And so, thank you so much for coming, and go back and lord it over your classmates.
Thanks,
Wow.
Boss.
Yeah.
Can my high school junior get 100 points? I'm sure he could use them.
Wow.
And one more thing before we adjourn. Last month, I said that regretfully, I accepted Jack Rogers leaving us for Arizona, accepted his resignation, and tonight I would like to announce that Dave Myers is going to be appointed to take over for Jack and come back to council. So he will be here, and he will be sworn in January. So he knows the ropes, and when I called Tim and said that, I called the council members so they all knew. When I called Tim, and he said, do I have to give his chair back to him? Because Dave always sat there. And I said, no, Tim.
I even posture myself in lieu of him.
I said, no, Tim. Dave gets this chair. So I think that's all the business, except there's cake and coffee, so you're welcome to stay for that. I will entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
We are adjourned.
Hey,
Thank you,
Maker, you
everyone.
want to go get the camera and we'll take a picture of Jack with the cake?